Hello and welcome to the Equestrian Mums Club podcast. We're your hosts, Katie Allen Clark and Sophie Conway, avid equestrians and recent first-time mums. Join us and a herd of other guests as we discuss the wild ride of parenthood and horse care together. Now it's time to take up the reins and walk on into our next episode.
Welcome to a new episode of the Equestrian Mums Club podcast. We are here today with a very special guest that we're both super excited to speak to. She is a Grand Prix dressage rider with some beautiful techniques for training her own horses. She's a coach, she's a social influencer, a fellow podcaster, and also a very soon-to-be new mummy to her growing little boy. She's been on such a journey so far, and so many of us have been privileged to have watched along as she's shared much of it online. So go and have a look. A huge welcome and thank you to Olivia Towers.
Hello! I feel so embarrassed after that intro.
Was it a nice intro?
A bit too nice. I was like, I feel flushed.
Or should we be calling you Olivia Kelly now?
Yeah, technically, but I've not changed any of my stuff over. Like documents, like driving licence, all still Olivia Towers.
I
need to get on with it.
So do you want to know a secret? This is not any reflection on you and your relationship in the slightest, but I got married to somebody that's not the father of my child, and we split up and I hadn't changed my name.
And you were like, great.
And I was like, thank God.
I don't have to change it back.
Yeah, it was actually just such a handy oversight.
Oh no, I won't tell Frank that. I think he's already like, why haven't you changed it over yet? I'm like, I'm just too lazy.
Yeah, but you also do have a name, so surely that is, people know you as Olivia Towers.
Yeah, but I didn't really care. I was just like let's move on.
Yeah, I suppose.
I was excited to change my name anyway.
It took me 5 years to change my driving licence. 5 years. But it's just so much admin.
The only reason I'm changing mine is I've got a tax rebate and they put it in Olivia Kelly and I literally can't get the money unless I change.
Well, that is worse. That is worse.
So I'm like, I'll change it now then. Go on.
Definitely worth changing it for. So we've obviously given you a little bit of an introduction ourselves, but go on. For any listener that hasn't already had an introduction to you, wherever they've been, under a rock probably, how would you describe yourself and who are you?
I could literally write a book on this, so this is my problem. I'll go on for ages. How to summarise it. So I always go straight into the career thing, but it's the easiest way. I have been a professional. We can't see that. What's the bunny ears?
Hashtags? No, they're not hashtags. They're awkward commas.
The bunny ears.
Apostrophes.
A professional dressage rider since 16, but I just don't think at 16 you know anything. But I left school at 16, went straight into the industry. And it just feels like a whirlwind since then of trying to discover how to do it. I know that you mentioned as well about the horsemanship stuff. That kind of happened 5-6 years ago. And that I feel is like the chapter I'm in at the moment with it all, which is really exciting. The chapter before that is my social media influencing days, where I was talking a lot about mindset. And I guess that's how most people know me because I used to really doubt myself and really struggle with self-belief and was so horrible to myself, especially with riding. Like competing, I'd be like my own worst enemy of being like, you're rubbish, this is crap, da. So I went on a journey of trying to change that around, and I don't think anyone had really explained that you could change that when I discovered it, and I was shocked and I found it really weird that no one was talking about it. So I used social media to basically tell other riders like, oh, you can change your mindset, you can do things differently. If you are having like negative thoughts, you can switch it around. And I think that's why a lot of people liked following the journey, because a lot of riders were posting their wins, and then if it went wrong, they were like, "Woo, I didn't go to a show today," or like they were just really disingenuous with what had actually happened. So I think people saw the professional riders or even amateur riders on social media and was like, "Oh my gosh, they never have a bad day." And I started vlogging and just posting and being like, "Well, I had a completely shit day today. This is what happened, X, Y, and Z." And people were like, wow, that happens to you too? And I was like, yeah, it does. But this is how I'm going to overcome it, and this is how I'm going to try and do something about it. And that's how the social media stuff started. But then classic me, because I'm a perfectionist and want to do everything to the like best of my ability, I just went too hard with it and burnt out.
And that was the burnout was associated with the social media stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I don't think I realised a lot of people who were influencers at the time, because I'd say I was one of the first in the UK, along with Esme, this Esme, who was vlogging and doing stuff. So there was not that many people doing it, and I didn't really realise that it was a full-time job in itself. I just thought I could do it alongside coaching, alongside riding, I could slot it in. But to do it well, I think you have to go at it like it's its own thing. And I was trying to do everything, and I burnt out really badly. It was horrid. Because as well, like working on the yard, having competition horses, going away teaching, trying to vlog that teaching, also doing a podcast. Then I had like merchandise, had the website, was selling clothing. Then had loads of different, which is lovely. You have loads of different sponsors coming in, and I remember I made some jewelry with like Hi-Ho Silver, which was incredible, and like all these opportunities were coming, but I just was like, I can't keep up with any of it. And then I dropped the balls. I was like, I'm done. This is so much, and just stopped a lot of it.
You stopped doing socials.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to take a bit of a break. I just need I think I was like, I need like a week off, and then I was like, okay, a week's not long enough.
I could have told you that.
I know.
A week wasn't going to be long enough.
I need a month off. Oh my gosh, a month's not long enough. 6 months. Oh no, okay, I still don't feel better. And then, I think it's just weighing up with it, whether I wanted to go back into it. And like, I felt really guilty that I wasn't. Because as well, once you've been good at it, it's really hard to be like, oh, I'm not going to go do that again.
Yeah, and I bet you felt for the followers as well that you'd built.
Yeah.
They love seeing you.
Yeah, and also then I actually had to stop and look at like, why am I doing it? Because a big driver at the beginning was to help people, but what it turned into was just validation. So it was that like massive dopamine hit I was getting from people being like, wow, you're so amazing. And I'd say I'm quite like a humble person, and not like, I think that's the problem. Like, I didn't like people being all like, oh, you're so incredible, because I knew it was false, and I knew it was this weird dopamine hit that I was getting, and I was like, that doesn't feel right to me. But then it doesn't mean that you don't like it when it's happening, because you're like, ooh, like...
I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
But actually...
And then you can hide it behind, I'm helping people. But I was like, well, why am I so sad then when a post doesn't do well? Or why am I struggling so much when I'm not doing it? And I was like, okay, I think I just journeyed on the thing of trying to look actually why I was doing it, rather than pretending it's just to help people, because there was another side of it, which is really hard to say to yourself.
It's kind of an unhealthy, like you can be addicted to the dopamine, but you can get dopamine from winning a class, which is a lot more healthy than getting dopamine from likes on Facebook.
Well, it's... Also as well, I completely resonate, by the way, because I feel like we are quite similar in personality, in maybe more ways than you realise. But it's that sort of like, if it's happening in that area of your life, it also happens in other areas of your life too. So to then have that massive, massive burnout and that moment of, okay, it's all come spiralling down. That must have been mega.
It was horrendous, and I think I told you this when I was speaking to you guys before, of it, like when I first burnt out, I was like depressed, which it was like obviously gonna feel like that way, you've completely burnt yourself out. And I remember speaking to someone who from our church, and she's a psychologist, and she's like, how are you? And I was like, this is before I'd realised I burnt out. I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I was like, I'm just really annoyed. I wish I didn't feel anything because I'd be more productive. And she was like, well, that's really not... wow, that's really unhealthy. I was like, oh, that was really unhealthy. And then
it's not funny.
Oh, it's so bad.
It's not funny at all, but it is so.
I realised that I'd made myself very numb, and because just before I burnt out was my most successful time, because I had this slogan, it was so bad, and it was don't play the victim.
Don't play the victim.
Don't play the victim. No. Yeah, as well, because I had a guy helping me with social media. He had that male twist on things of, like...
Go get it drive.
Push. Yeah.
To go get it drive.
And I was going along that thing. And, like, have you ever heard of Gary Vaynerchuk and...
Oh, yeah, buddy.
All that lot. The ones that are like, push, push, push. And there's a few... Actually, now that I've realised they've come out and they're like absolute frauds. Not him, but there's a few that I was listening to. And they were all talk, all chat of like, push, 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 don't sleep, get up at this time. And I realised like, oh my gosh, what was going on? And I listened to a podcast. This was a bit my problem, I just take everything literally. I listened to a podcast of a lady and she said, if you think something, it becomes who you are. So if you think negatively, you'll become negative. So I took that as never ever think negative. So I would literally ban myself from feeling any emotion like that. And what happened is like I basically kept pushing it down and it just exploded out. Like it was like, boom, you've ignored these emotions. And now I've come to realise it's not about ignoring them and it's also not about fixating on them. It's about just letting them wash by. But I was a very black and white person, so for me that sounded very grey and in the middle and I didn't like it. So I was like, either I'm going to be completely consumed by them or ignore them. So yeah, the burnout, I had completely ignored it, and then after the burnout I got completely consumed by it and got really, really sad, really, really depressed. And then I said that the depression was actually the easy bit. Once that had happened, I then got really bad anxiety, and that for me was like, oh, the killer. Because the other thing as well I was doing on social media, I've written a course, an online course about mindset. Because, everyone was like, oh, Olivia,
everyone was doing course life.
Yeah. So it was a whole course on like helping yourself, like, like feel the fear and do it anyway, and like about confidence and all this stuff. I'd written this whole course and I was like, and completely believed everything I said, and I was in that place and I was very much like doing what I was saying I was doing. But then after the burnout, I got really anxious and I was like, oh, I'm not even doing what I said I like was advising people to do. And then I was like, oh, I'm a fraud. And that was it then. It just killed me, because I was like, how did I go from being this person who was like giving people confidence and like overcoming things to then like, oh, I can't like leave the house or go to Tesco's.
I actually want to cry.
Olivia, I can really feel like the internal battles that you've had in your own mind for however long. Like it's just,
I think this could be an actual record, listeners, because I don't.
Katie's crying already.
I'm already crying. So yeah.
Katie's already crying, but I can feel like that what you've been through inside. It's really hard.
Yeah.
You're an overthinker.
Oh, I know.
Like,
yeah.
hugely.
It really hurts. It's horrible.
Yeah.
So this is really interesting, because we started this conversation by me asking you what seemingly for people is a simple question, right?
Yeah,
a simple question of who are you? What do you do? But actually, the way that people perceive you and who you are is probably now like eons apart from who you are now.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it takes a lot of time for people like that aren't in your inner circle and the people that you surround yourself with every day to realise that you're not Olivia Towers that does vlogging day in, day out. Do you know what I mean when I say that? It's like we were talking about like obviously coming to see you, and we were saying, the title of this podcast really should be something around the evolution of Olivia Towers, because actually what people are expecting to hear out of your mouth actually isn't where you're at anymore.
Yeah.
And it's the same for all of us. When different from how we were last week, the month before, the year before.
The weird thing is, I don't know if you might. It would be so. I can't wait to hear what you think and how you feel. But having a baby
changes it all again.
Changes everything again. It's for the better. Yeah. Like hugely.
I definitely already feel more chilled out.
Do you?
Yeah, which is really nice. And I was very much like a push person, and now I'm like, nah, no, I'm not going to push.
I love this.
So good.
I love this view because I was exactly the same way. 100% type A personality. Like genuinely stressed myself into having to take a enforced sabbatical from work, didn't I? Oops, me.
Forgot about that.
My entire body broke down basically.
Yeah.
And couldn't stop bleeding. just 18 months of
Really?
pure bleeding and hospitalised myself 3 times in that space.
The body's way though of going
Idiot.
like
Stress is the worst thing for your
Idiot.
body ever, isn't it?
But then the moment I came back off that sabbatical, I was relaxed. I was feeling like a lot more in control of my own feelings and emotions. Got pregnant immediately, didn't know. But the moment I found out I was pregnant, actually, although I wasn't planning it and I was not quite surprised, I think you'll find, after that, the relief of not having to be that person.
Yeah,
It's push.
Yeah, the push.
it's horrible.
My whole life was centered around work. I was Rihanna-ing all over the shop, right?
It's a bit different though, can I just say? It's a bit different because Olivia works for herself, whereas yours was even more unnecessary. Do you know what I mean? And that is not me. No, but that is not me putting
so
you down
funny.
in any way. But that is me saying that actually, whoever you work for, like if you work for a company, really hope no one from work listening to this. If you work for a company, you are always replaceable. And I think the pressure from working for yourself is more like, what's the word?
You got to remember though, I've never just worked for work. I've always consulted as well
Alongside it. Yeah, that's true.
So,
yeah.
I'm an idiot basically. I'm a great big fat idiot. But then coming back to you, that moment where you find out that there's another being that you've got to support and you've got to cherish and you've got to love, that was a turning point.
Yeah.
The type A personality has to sit in the back seat from work because
I think I got that before I was pregnant. I got to that point before I was pregnant, which was nice.
That's amazing.
So I was almost there before. But this is where, like, so I'm a Christian. So I believe, like, God, like he can literally change anything for me and, like, take things away. My biggest thing for him, of why I got so stressed at him, was, like, why would you not? I've seen you, like, heal people of, like, mental health stuff. I was like, just take it away. I was like, it's
take
so
away
easy.
your mental health.
Yeah, no,
problems.
take away the anxiety. I was like, I've seen you do it to people I know. I was like, just get rid of it. And it was like, no, still not going. But I think it was like, and again, you could say it's God, you could say it's life, like journeys, it's whatever you believe in. But for me, I was like, I had to go through that to be like, stop trying to fight over it. Stop trying to be like, no, I can't, I've got to do this, I've got to overcome this, like now, and it's like, let it just like wash over you more. And then that's when the type A started to calm down. So I was like, okay, as horrendous as it was, and it's still there, but as horrendous as it is, I was like, well, it's had a purpose and it's kind of grounded me more.
Were you anxious about us being here?
No, not this, but I'm much better than I was. Like in my worst time, I was so I bought a house in town and my house is in town. I couldn't go out the door and like walk up the street. I couldn't, like I mentioned, couldn't get fuel, couldn't go into Tesco's. And then I remember it got so bad that even like at home here, me and my dad had to have a meeting with the bank manager. And agoraphobia is basically like that thing of like panicking that you can't leave, for like people being like, why are you leaving? Like, what's wrong? Or feeling like it's socially inappropriate. So I would get so stressed that I had to sit in that room with him and like even thinking I can't go to the loo or I can't get up and I can't do this. It's so hard. Like it literally shifts your whole life. So it's still it's still slightly there in the fact of like I'll go to do something and my body will go like, no, don't do that. And then I have to be like, oh no, it's fine. Yeah, so I had a first aid course. I said this, didn't I?
Yeah.
I had a first aid course and I was literally like throwing up on the way there because I was like, I have to sit in that room all day to pass the course. And then I get there and I'm absolutely fine.
Were you pregnant at the time?
Yeah. I know I can use it as an excuse.
Probably might not have helped.
I don't think that would have helped.
Oh no, but I'm more relaxed now pregnant than I was before. But yeah, so it was very intense.
Regarding the anxiety, this is something that I'm actually interested in because I had really bad, I think I told you before, I had really bad postnatal anxiety.
Yeah.
It was all related to Olive. All of it was related to the baby. And so I'd just be so nervous of dropping her. I did end up dropping her once, but That was a bit later on. She was a bit more robust, so it was fine. Like I was worried about John. I was worried about her getting stolen, fires in the house, just completely
overwhelming.
Yeah, but also stuff that, I mean, if it had happened, it would have been really strange. Do you know what I mean? But like,
that's what it does, though, isn't it?
But it still now it hangs around. Like it's gone.
Yeah.
But I was chopping up carrots yesterday. I'm like, oh my god, this is going to slip and go into her eye.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like that anxiety has stayed around for a little bit, and it's not really going to go ever. I don't think completely.
Yeah.
Because I still worry about when she's 18 and she goes out.
I'll tell you a funny thing though. So I've been learning a lot about
Mate, what's my name?
neurodiversity.
Oh, neurodiversity.
I am pretty certain I've got ADHD.
Yeah, this is the thing that someone said I've got ADHD, but
what you've just like catastrophizing.
Oh yeah.
That is a really common thing.
But I've only ever done that since I've had Olive.
But I find it funny because I also do these moments where I'm like, what would happen if I just like stepped out in front of this lorry?
Like, or like driving and you were like,
yeah,
turn the steering wheel really sharp.
I think that becomes quite I'm going to say this in inverted commas, normal thing when you have a child. There's a lot of catastrophizing that happens.
Yeah.
But if you've had an anxiety like episode anyway, maybe it's more likely. I don't know. Hopefully a psychologist will tell us something.
You know that do you know Anna Martha? Have you seen her? She's big on Instagram.
No.
So she's a psychologist. She's actually the lady who I said about the emotions, at my church, where she was like, oh, that's not good. It's her mum. So Anna's her daughter, and she is a psychologist. And she's done loads for mums. So if you haven't heard of her, go and check her out because she's incredible. And she talks a lot about mental health for mums because she had really bad like postnatal depression when she had her kids. And she's just phenomenal. And she talks so much about intrusive thoughts. And she had one about dropping her, like she wanted to just like throw a baby out the window or drop a baby down the stairs. And she's like, does this make me a terrible person? And she's like, no, like we all have intrusive thoughts. It's just some we pay more attention to than others. And obviously that one you're paying attention to, whereas I've had like weird intrusive thoughts I can't even remember because they're just not significant to me, but that one obviously is to you. So you're like,
I have really weird intrusive
I'm
thoughts.
like, well, I need to remember that one.
Yeah, I know. So imagine if you sometimes said them out loud, like I'm sure we have.
Yeah, she does a whole podcast, like she does a podcast as well. She's done a whole thing on intrusive thoughts. It's really good.
I need to listen to that. Yes, so
she's like, it's completely normal.
And I'd also like to know when it goes from sort of intrusive thoughts to like postnatal psychosis or like when it gets to like the bad bit, because
I didn't know as well intrusive thoughts can be a form of OCD because a therapist I was seeing actually about the agoraphobia, she had a mum come in that was basically going to give her child to child services because she kept having this intrusive thought about like sexual stuff with her child, but she was so repulsed by herself and disgusted and she didn't understand it. But the therapist basically said it's not that you want to do it because otherwise you would feel repulsed by it. It's an intrusive thought that you've got hooked on. You can't let go of it now, and you've become like ridiculous about it, and like it's become an OCD thing where it just keeps triggering. And
That's
she's
really
like,
sad.
It's really sad.
God,
and anyway, they worked on it, and then it went, and she was fine.
But also, like, imagine trying to admit that to anybody. That must be really. Oh, that's.
I know.
Really sad.
But that's why she was like, I'm gonna give my child away, because she thought it was that she was like a paedophile, but she had OCD.
I actually want to cry again.
Don't cry again.
It's so sad, isn't it?
That is horrific. Can I just bring this back?
Yes.
Because I know that you.
I do this.
You have. I first of all just wanted to say, Team GB. You were a young rider on Team GB.
Yeah, I was reserve.
Where did you go?
I didn't go, so I was a non-travelling reserve. That actually, we were at the GB camp. I think it was Young Riders or Junior.
Yeah,
I think it was juniors.
Juniors and Young Riders, wasn't it?
Yeah, and we were at the camp. There were 6 of us, and they take 4 abroad. And I remember saying to the selectors when I went in, I was like, "Don't take me." I was like,
"Really?"
Yeah, because I'd had a lesson with the guy. You have like a team trainer come in. I think it was like Christoph Hess, a German trainer. He came in and I was riding the horse and he said, right, take your spurs and your whip away because you should be able to ride without that. And I was like, so right, I should. and I remember the horse just didn't move, and I was like, this is so, and even at this age I knew I wanted to ride a certain way. I was like, this is so wrong. And my trainer at the time, who had actually trained the horse and was meant to be supporting me, just walked off and left me, and I was mortified, and I was like, oh, this is awful. And I felt like it should have been a time where he stood alongside me.
We have
not stand up at 16, not stood up for me, but just stood alongside me and been like, do you know what, we need to sort this out. But it was walked away.
But do you think maybe that was embarrassment on their part?
Yeah, no, totally get that now, but at that age you don't
think
you
you blame yourself.
And also had another situation when I was competing internationally where I hadn't done this. They had done the horse's nose band up very, very tight in the warm-up because they were training me, and come out and the horse had a blue tongue, and the steward said, like, if you ever do this again you'll be kicked out. And again they walked off, and I was like, this is not
stuck on your own again.
And it was mortifying for me, because I'm like, you know, I wouldn't have gone down the route I had if I didn't give a shit about horses, but I was just like, oh, this is horrendous. So no, the GB stuff, I purposely said to them, don't take me. And I remember saying to my trainer, what did I say to my mum? I said to my mum, when I came away from there and went back to hers, I was like, if this is what it takes to do that, I don't want to do it. I was like, let's just retire the horse and put him in the field, because this is horrendous. Yeah. And I knew that it's not how I wanted to do it, but I was being told things like, I would say like, oh, this doesn't feel right, and it was like, ignore your feel, and like stuff like that, and I was like, it just feels so wrong. So the GB stuff was not nice years.
So, but the reason I asked about it is because it is changing, hopefully, now, a little bit. It should. It needs to. It will change, I think. I used to work for BD magazine, so kind of seen that evolution, and I think now is the time where it's change or don't. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, so hopefully there will be you and other people like you that get the better marks from the new methods of training and doing it slightly differently. And I just wonder if, for your riding future, if that is still on the cards at any point.
Like doing it in like
getting back onto a team.
Oh yeah, no. So I think now what I said is I'd love to do like a Nations Cup.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd want to do the. For me personally, I don't see it changing in my lifetime for the Olympic stuff. No.
That's really sad.
I know, and maybe I come from it from a really sad point of view, but I just don't.
You know more than that.
See it
You're in that world.
I don't see it shifting that quickly.
I
don't know how you shift it, because I would say the problem is not about the people, like, okay, the knowledge isn't there as well for the horse training, but it's more the psychology, like, and the insecurities of the riders. That is the big problem that's not being dealt with. But also you've got the financial thing
aspect of
which, how do you change that? Because there's riders who are my age, younger, who have owners, and I said this the other day on social media, they have owners. If they did what I did, where they stopped competing, they'd just have them taken off them. They'd just go. And then they'd lose rides, then they'd lose money, then they'd be out the industry. Like, I don't know how you let people do that, and how you let people be vulnerable when they need to keep earning an income. And I know that it shouldn't be about money, but it is.
It is, and also it's about time though as well.
You change that.
You just said before, I don't know if this is on the podcast or if it was when we were talking before, but took 5 years for you to train in the new method, and so
that is like, well, like the more, like, and I know it's the cliche thing, the more you learn, the more you realise you don't know.
Yeah. That's just horses.
So now I feel like
that's life and horses and parenting. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm set for that now. I'll be like, oh no.
So true, actually. That should have been on our what you learn.
I feel like this has set me up well for knowing that's going to be exactly the same thing of parenting. I'm like, I've got it, and that's when you know you're in danger.
Well, no, actually, I actually think that once you think, do you know what, I have got this, I know what I'm doing, everybody else just leave me alone. That is when you are actually okay.
Yeah, because you're not taking all the advice.
Yeah, you've done that with horses as well.
Yeah, true.
You've found your own way.
Yeah. I think it's about trusting your instinct, no matter what you're doing. And honestly, it sounds to me like, going back to the sort of the terrible Team GB years, just coining that as a phrase.
Yeah.
You went against your instinct.
Oh, massively.
And therefore you lost your own authenticity.
Yeah. But at that age, you get told, like, what do you know?
Yeah.
Or like, shut up. And when they are doing well and they're winning, these people, you're just like, oh gosh, they must know more than me. And you're like, I don't know, then you get perspective as you get older, don't you? And you realise
100%.
Especially with all the stuff that's coming out now, you realise people can be literally at the Olympics and training really nasty.
Yeah, and you were and you so true. At the time you're like, I just have to do what they say. They're obviously they're obviously the intelligent one in this.
Yeah.
I can remember once at badminton, right, years and years ago, there was this woman we used to go to badminton with, and I was probably about 15, I'd say, bit younger than you were.
Just to clarify, as spectators.
As spectators, God's sake.
Going around badminton.
Yeah. I was not going around badminton. I've always wanted to do it. I'm never going to get there now. This horse came in from the cross country into the main arena, and I said, oh, that horse looks really tired, but he's still doing so well. And this woman said to me, Sophie, they don't get tired. Don't be so stupid. They're athletes. And at the time I was like, oh, they don't get tired.
Oh, that's silly of me.
They must not get tired. How stupid. And honestly, for years after that, I would always look at them and I'd be like, I mean, he does look tired, but he can't be tired.
Yeah.
He's an athletic horse. Like,
My favourite line when people say this stuff is, oh, he can have the rest of the week off. It doesn't matter how hard he works today. And I'm like, if you took that in the gym, like, okay, let's work in the gym for 4 hours because we've got the rest of the week off. I was like, how does that mentality?
How does that work?
How does that make sense? I was like, that's the most stupid thing I've ever heard, but it's so common in the equestrian world.
So can you, most of the listeners will actually know that because I've mentioned it about 200 million times, that my horse is on box rest. And so when he comes back from box rest, I want to do some groundwork with him. Yeah. So have you got any tips, like where to start?
It's so hard. I think like everyone, because we lead our horses around all the time, we just think it's the most easy thing. But even leading a horse correctly and like having a connection, like when you stop, they stop, and then when you go back, they go back, and then when you speed up, they speed up, and when you slow down, they slow down. That in itself is hard enough. Of just having them like connected to you, because have you ever led a horse around where it's like here, there, and everywhere, and if you let go the rope, it's just its mind's gone, its body's gone.
Yeah.
Whereas you see some people that like the horses just follow them around.
Oscar does that with me.
Yeah.
So
that you first need that. You need like
he's my soulmate. I can't get any other horse to do it with.
You need like a connection with them.
Yeah.
And them to be like in tune with you, and that's a nice way to start. And then there's like two main things I do, like basics, is like opening the shoulder and what people call turning the hind legs. Turning the hind legs is the most common one. You know where you see people do smaller circles and like, spin the hind leg away from them. But the shoulder one's not so common. But that I could never explain that.
Okay, we'll have to watch some video. Can you please put video?
Yeah. But it's lovely. Like, and once you get those two things, you can then start suppling the horse's body. And I find most horses blocking the shoulder because it's where they push, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, when they push you over, it's always with the shoulder, or when they barge each other, it's the shoulder. So if that's stuck, it kind of goes through to the hind leg and the neck. So when you want to get a horse like supple, you know, you see them trotting around and they're like dropped in the head and they're relaxed. It's where you can move the shoulder, move the hind leg, and then the rib cage opens up and the neck opens up.
Oh God, it's making me feel relaxed.
I know.
Thinking about it, it's
Can
like,
you just keep saying words?
Yeah. Like,
horse is so supple, and then I know I can visualize it, and then I get on Oscar and he's like,
yeah.
I just did a very.
But it's so hard because it's
it's
such a feel. And when I first started doing it, I was just like bashed my way through it because it's hard. It's like learning to drive. You're not going to get in a car and look like elegant and like you know what's going on because you're trying to get the feel. But groundwork's that, but like a million times harder because you've got another.
Do you know what?
Being involved.
I'm really glad you just said that because I feel like it's easier for me to find feel with my horse when he's not broken.
Yeah.
On him.
Yeah.
But getting feel next to him is 4,000 times harder.
I know.
But
I'm the opposite.
Please tell me I'm not alone in that.
No, I'm the opposite. I feel very connected next to us. Like he's a bit different, but I've always feel like I've got him on the ground. Yeah. Like you said, he will literally follow me around. I could let him go into school, or he would walk himself down to the field if he was following me. On him, we're a little bit at odds sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I think I need to tune in when I'm on him a little bit more. But
But then
you
it
know,
might be,
that's time.
where, sometimes when we get on a ride, or like, we just look at it, it's like, right, come on, off we go. And then maybe when we're on the ground, you're a bit more like,
Yeah.
got time here, this is fine.
Yeah, maybe.
There's so many factors into it.
I think for me, it's my vulnerability. Leo's a big horse and he can totally use his size against someone if he doesn't want to do something. So I think maybe it's
also when you're learning and you push in the wrong moment, you can trigger the horses to be quite explosive.
And
that is like, I can have horses come in that people are like petrified of, and I feel quite confident taking them off them and moving them because I never put myself in like to a vulnerable situation. Whereas when you don't know where to move, or like, it's like a conversation with a horse, but it happens so quickly. If you're learning, you're gonna get yourself, it's like some of them like run past people and then like kick out.
Yeah.
If
I
you
know a
don't
horse
know how
that
to
does that.
stop that, you're behind the horse before you know it, and you haven't got that time to go, ooh, I've got to move here and do this.
And actually,
really hard.
do you know what? I just thought of this, but it would be really, really good thing for anybody that's got horses and finds out that they're pregnant to do with their horse, especially if they don't want to ride, because it would make everything so much safer.
Yeah.
You know,
I happily now, even though I'm like 6 weeks off, could go and get my horses in from the field because I know that they won't come, they'll keep a distance from me. However wound up they are.
Yeah.
I know that if I say don't come near me, they won't come near me.
Yeah, and
which is nice.
when you've got the baby and you've got them on you, but I used to worry so much about her being
even
there.
just like, even it's not that they're naughty, but they just don't get space.
Yeah.
They're almost worse, the horses that are so in your space and almost like too friendly, because they're on top of you and they're more, I find them harder to deal with than the ones that are petrified and running away from you.
Because you can train them to come to you a bit easier.
That's exactly Leo problem.
He's too much
if he gets worried, he comes at you.
I think Tristan says like,
panics me because I'm like, you're massive, get out of my space.
There's 3 things you can be to a horse: is mummy, dictator, or trainer. And I definitely was the mummy before.
I'm
I was
100% the mummy.
I'll look after you, mummy loves you. And then it's like, oh, okay, hold on, now you're on top of me and you're stressed, and like, they just keep clinging to you.
Yeah.
That's almost worse.
Yeah.
I went into the stable the other night and fed this horse that we look after, and he's huge, but he's absolutely lovely. He's not got a bad bone in his body, but where he swung his head round to get his feed, he just knocked me over. I was like, Punch, piss off! And I threw the bucket at him, and he was stood in the corner like, I'm so sorry, I didn't realise.
You like,
I didn't realise my size.
Yeah. I always say that in the field, if you see a horse in the field and a horse does that to another horse, they don't just go, don't worry about it, it's fine. You go like, no.
No, you don't.
Go
yes. So true.
So when people are too like nice to their horses, you know, where they're like, I don't want to tell them anything, I'm like, think about them in the field with each other.
Yeah, so true. And think about, because what's your opinion on this? This is not a question. This has literally just popped into my mind. There's the one side of people that go, you shouldn't hit them, a fly. They can feel a fly land on them, and then there's the other side that like they literally beat the shit out of each other in the field.
I think as long as there is a conversation going on, and there's a reason and there's an explanation to why you've done like told a horse in a bit of a sterner way, then it's fine.
Yeah.
Because if I think like I've had multiple, I'm just thinking back to there's a little Connie horse that I was teaching doing groundwork away, and it came into the arena. And the woman was holding its lead rope very close to its head. It was knocking her over. It was standing up. I was like, she's going to die in a minute. It was running circles around her. And she was like, I just don't know what to do. And the horse was so stressed, like so wound up. And she gave me the rope. And I like stood there and with the halter, because they're heavier ropes, you kind of like, no one can see what I'm doing. You swing it in a bit of a loop. And it basically is like back out my space. This horse was like, obviously didn't know what that meant. And there's a leather bit on the end of the rope, and it smacks him on the end of the nose, and he ran back, and then he stood there, and he was like, and then sighed, and he was fine, and he literally just stood there. And he was so much calmer because I'd just given him a boundary.
Yeah.
Now, I could not have given him that boundary by being like, please go back, or like thinking of my intention. Do you know what I mean? Like,
flapping.
It's a very dangerous situation for me to be in. The horse is upset, and I remember trying to explain to the owner, because I think she looked at me a bit like, oh, what have you done? And there's such a big thing now, and like everything has to be in such a positive, lovely way. Totally fine if you've had a horse from a two-day-old foal and you've done it in this way all its life, but if you've had a horse that's confused and doesn't know what's going on, and you just go in and you go, I'm going to just think with my intention of this horse movement, it's not going to know what you're going on about, and you're going to scare it even more. It's like, I guess, the same with kids. If you've got a kid that's about to run into the middle of the road and you have to grab their hand,
true. Oh,
what are you going to do? Try and gentle parent as they're running into the road?
Olivia, you have literally just explained why. I mean, I can't say it on here, but why sometimes gentle parenting doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because the danger.
Don't get me started.
The danger. No, we can't. We can't. I don't think we should go into this because there are a lot of people.
I've not even seen it, but I can already tell it's going to be,
Like you've got. I mean, we're in Olivia's amazing living room or dining. What is this? Living room.
Living room.
And we're looking out onto the most beautiful lake. With a child, you cannot just let the child run towards that lake and into
be like, oh, let's think about our choice here.
Yeah.
Not gonna think about our choice.
Dude, does that seem safe?
Yeah.
It won't be safe in a minute.
But I think parenting's got really hard with that.
It has, but also you live in the middle of nowhere, you'll be fine. No one's going to judge you.
They were saying, because she was born in the 70s, she's like, back in the day, like as long as you were fed and watered, that's all your mum was there for, and you went off and you played and like you did all that stuff. Now there's so much stuff of you have to teach this and this and do this and this and this. And
they can't.
So much pressure.
I think there's like with anything, with horses and kids and dog, everything. You just take bits of everything, don't you? So like, I think certain parts of gentle parenting are really good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't agree with continuously, and I have done this a few times, but I don't agree with calling a child naughty.
Yeah.
Because I think that eventually they will just be naughty. Yeah. But like
they're doing it for a reason.
Yeah. But I also don't think that you should just never say no.
No. And that's why I think I'm quite lucky with the horses that then I can take that into the parenting, because again, it's not black and white. It's not let them do whatever they want and then be an absolute dick and like be like, you must do everything I say and you can never put a foot up.
That's confusing as well.
And that's like, and you know, the abuse that I see, it would be more that someone's hitting, like, so for example, they're like doing the whirly rope thing that I do, and they're smacking the horse in the nose, and the horse goes back, but they carry on, and they're like, no, I'm going to keep the question on. That is mean, because the horse doesn't.
Control thing,
the horse is just like, I've done what you've said, and the pressure's not come off.
Yeah.
So rather than like a lady I follow for the groundwork, she said, rather than think of a reward, it's literally like, you know, you have that emotion where you're like, no, don't do that, and then they go, okay, and then you just instantly soften. The horses feel that. And that for them is like a release, and they're like, oh, okay, I know what I'm doing. It's when people get frustrated and the release never comes, you know? Like you see people smacking a horse and you're like, what's the question? Because the horse can't answer, because like, what's the question? I'm just going to keep smacking.
I'm learning so much. My little brain's going to explode in a minute.
I also think as well, like we were talking about this on another podcast recently, is like about giving the other sentient being on the other side of the question space to answer as well.
Yeah,
like
that's huge. So in groundwork as well as babies.
For me, that is the biggest thing that I needed from maybe my parents that I didn't get.
So sorry, you just reminded me.
I think that's the same for me. Maybe that's where the type A comes from.
You've just reminded me of something. So Olive has started. She's going through this hitting phase.
Yeah.
She then stopped doing it because we taught her to stroke instead. So it's really sweet, and she went through this lovely stroking phase. Anyway, last night, talking of like letting the other person or horse answer, she hit me in the face really hard last night. She was really tired, and I just looked at her because I was like, and I waited for her to then stroke. And she didn't. She just walloped me again in the face. I was like, right.
Breathe.
You sit down there. I'm just going to go in the other room.
Oh my God.
It's consequences to the actions. That was a different one. That's a different one.
I bet you're just like trying to do the right thing, and then it just like literally smacks you in the face.
Pure violence in the house against me.
But sometimes you do just need to give people their space. Like, for example, Rafe, my son, lovely, but when he's overtired,
That's all
nothing,
Nothing will
will work. Nothing. And everyone's like, oh, you've got to be with him, be near him, treasure him.
But
the closer you get, the louder it gets. So I've now just started this thing where I'll just put him in his cot, set a 5-minute timer on my phone, walk away, and within 2 minutes, silence. But not because he knows that I'm not there, because I'm literally just sat outside the room. He can hear me breathing, I'm sure he can. But
he needs the space.
But he just needs to be left alone.
They're all different. They're all
Yeah.
so different.
And
oh
it's
my
the same
God.
with, I'm sure it's the same with kids, the same with horses. Of when you say that, no, this is the way you do it, you'll have a horse or a child come along that goes, nah,
Test
Nah,
it.
mate.
absolutely
Test
not.
it, yeah.
Not the way you're going to do it. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
They test it. They all
Yeah.
do, don't they? So just to move on and try and stick to this a bit.
Yeah, sorry.
We've got a question for you about your husband.
Mm.
How does he cope with your fame?
With your fame.
With your fame?
It's so funny. I don't know why I find that so funny, because I just don't think it's there.
You are quite famous.
You are.
Yeah.
You've got more than a large town following
Yeah.
you on all platforms.
So we've had quite a few times where we've been somewhere and they're like, oh, hi, are you Olivia? I follow you on social media. And it's very sweet. And I love it, chatting to them. And I
Yeah.
always try and make it that I'm not like, oh, yes, I am. I try and be like, oh, tell me about, do you have a horse? Where it's like,
You're not like, sorry, I'm too busy for you.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Oh, that's nice.
I really want to try and, because I can see they're a bit not embarrassed, but where it's
Nervous.
Tentative to
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think I hate feeling that myself, so I'm like, oh, right, let me be overly friendly.
Aw.
And then I think Frank just sits there and he's like, this is weird. He's said, it's just, all he's ever said is, it's weird, or it's a bit strange.
Alex would say that.
And that's
as well.
literally all I
Yeah,
get,
that's
really.
exactly what Alex would say. And how does he feel about the baby and the fame?
Yeah,
do you,
we had this
do you-
conversation. I actually really want to do a poll on my Instagram about this, of do you show your child's face on social media?
We're
Because
both separate. We're completely
Really?
separate. So I
don't
do,
think that's-
and she doesn't.
So I think what I said to Frank is I wouldn't put it on the big one.
On your big
Because
one.
let me tell you the reason why this got really solidified. Did you see that reel I did about with my bump growth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It went viral, didn't it?
It went viral.
Yeah.
Lovely. But anyway,
Loved that reel.
I started being like, oh, who's following me from this? This is thousands of people coming in. So I clicked on a few. Oh my gosh. I was like, this is mental. There were pages following me of pregnant women in lingerie being all sexy and basically
Oh God, Olivia.
soft porn of pregnant women. I was like, why are you following me? And then there were men sliding into my DMs being like, oh, one guy was like, I wish that was my baby. And I did not realise how perverted the world, well, I did know, but you really get a check on how perverted the world is. And I've seen a few things of people who have they're vloggers and they vlog their family. And they show how many people have saved a picture of their child.
Yeah,
in
I've
the
seen
swimming
that.
pool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nah, that doesn't sit right with me. So
Yeah.
I think on those platforms, a big platform, you can't really control who's looking. And that freaks me out a bit. But on my Facebook, okay, there might be the odd person. I realise it's not completely safe, but I feel okay with sharing that. And Frank sharing it on his Instagram, and
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about that. But the other thing as well, I don't want to dress my kids up to look like little adults.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh God, I hate that.
So
Yeah,
then I hope that I wouldn't, I don't know, I'd never get them into the social media where I'm using them for it.
Yeah, same. I think mine's more of a
Yeah.
boast. Because I'm do you know what I mean? I'm really proud of you.
So proud of my child. and be
Yeah,
like,
but it is a boast. I'm always yeah, exactly that. And I would hate for I also, part of the reason that I was no, I am going to do this is because I live 2 hours away from all my family.
Yeah.
Don't see a lot of them. My dad lives in America. And so it's actually, it is people want to see what we're up to and they want to see on
Also,
it.
the photos are stored on there forever, aren't they?
Well,
There's
do you know this?
photos, you end
Yeah.
up deleting
So
them all.
this is the other thing, is that my mum died 5 years ago. Actually, it's 6 years ago this year. Bloody hell. And it was completely life-changing, horrific.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we had was her Facebook. And so she used to post loads of stuff up there and
Go back on.
we've still got it. And we wouldn't have had half of that if she hadn't had Facebook and if she hadn't put us all up there and put photos of her family up. So I'm if something happens to me, I want Olive to go through and see that I really did love her and all of that. And so there's that element of it as well. For me.
My thing is that I just feel like I want to keep him, what's the word? I want to keep him making his own decisions.
Yeah.
So it's not anything to do with me, per se.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish I could have shared that photo. Like my Christmas photo shoot. How embarrassing. Where we're all dressed up. Like
Slightly extra.
Love that.
No, we definitely weren't like Mean Girls. Simon was definitely in boots and trousers and a jumper, and the horse was in reindeer antlers.
It was so extra.
You know, it'd be nice to share more of that with other people, but then I kind of like think to myself, oh, Rafe should make the decision.
Oh, it's so hard. I don't know how you choose.
I know, don't
this.
sue me, Olive. Please, if you're listening to this in 10 years.
Because again, we're living through it for the first time, isn't it?
New, isn't it? We didn't have that.
And it keeps
when we were
evolving so much. And then I think, like, how would I feel if my parents... I don't know.
I just don't... I think Simon and I have come from the viewpoint that we don't want to make a spectacle of him.
Yeah.
And the people that know him obviously see his face.
Yeah.
And
But I'm going to feel like you with the showing off thing. I just know.
I do want to show him off, but I'm also like, I'll leave it to you, mate.
I just think, like, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
You might change your mind at some point, and I might change my mind and take them all off. It's like whatever happens at the same time. Like,
I mean, each their own. I genuinely love seeing your pictures of Olive online because I'm like, oh, they're so cute. But
oh yes,
you're like, woo.
I'm gonna keep doing it then.
But then I don't do it, so I'm like, is that people at school? I don't know.
No. I think it's so
cute,
hard.
though,
I don't know how you navigate it. This is what I'm gonna be like.
I don't. It's like, do what you want.
So you're having a little boy.
Yes.
Are you scared?
No.
You're not?
No, I'm
You're
not
just
actually.
excited.
I honestly, I don't know if it's delusion, but I like...
No, it's not.
No, I'm like, I just feel like he's gonna slot into life really easily.
I can,
Because I feel like I live such a privileged, lovely life now because I let go of the A-type. Like, I live with my mum and dad, well, in their annex. I have dinner with them every night. If Frank's away because he's with the army, I can chill with my parents. When Frank's here, we all eat together. Like, it's like a little community, or me and Frank can eat on our own. That's fine. I have such a lovely team now of with the horses. We have lovely people who work here. My mum is the most golden woman ever of running the yard and just so involved. And we've had our times of butting heads, but now we're in a really chill place. I just think to bring a child into that is so nice.
Oh God, I'm so happy for him.
I know.
I'm so happy for him to come and be born here. Be like,
look, there could be more tears, guys.
Don't get me wrong. I realise that it's we might go through the whole thing of I'm not sleeping, I feel so tired, but it's such a safe little environment. And also I know with my clients and teaching and stuff that they won't mind if I take a baby with me when I go back to it, and because I'm not trying to push for the competition stuff so much, I don't mind if I'm we can only have a stretchy day today, we can't push in this area. I also think it's better to learn the groundwork slowly anyway, and the riding slowly, so it doesn't matter if he slows that down a little bit.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Which horse are you going to get on first?
Leo.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was mortified to get off him.
oh, I bet.
And poor Lucinda, who's riding my horses, she must feel so on edge riding him because...
You would just watch her.
I watch all of them, but on him I'm And, I don't know what it is, we have some affinity together. And she, she likes him, but I can tell she doesn't love him because he's
that must make you feel a bit good though.
Yeah, he's an average moving horse. He's not massive moving, whereas Molly, my other horse, is big moving, but he's got more tension in his body, he's got different things, and he's a bit anxious, and that really upsets me that he's like that, so I don't feel as good. Whereas Leo, he's I can get his body like Rosie, who rides the young horse here, she's I wish everyone could feel how this horse feels. She's it's how it's meant to be, and I was I know. It's so cool because he's never been lame. I bought him, he was very, very sound. He's not been jabbed, nothing's happened. He's so loose in the body. And I think that's why he feels like that. But for me, that's like the ultimate feeling.
Yeah.
So it would be Leo.
Can you teach us how that what thou actually?
Yeah,
feels?
but they've got
Okay, no, but again, like the way you're talking
got
about
to
it is
have the
making me
bond.
feel. I wish I was a horse in your care. They just sound so chilled. Like it's like a retreat.
Yeah.
Let's all come to Olivia's for a retreat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you need to go. You need to start doing retreats up here.
I do wish I could bottle the feeling though.
Yeah.
Like when you get it. And don't get me wrong, he has days where he's like goes on the forehand or he feels stiff and it's not as great. But he's got that ability to find that softness, whereas like a lot of the other ones don't have that. I
So
try not to put
true.
that pressure on them.
So true about bottling that feeling. Like if
Yeah.
you could just bottle the feeling of sitting on a horse that is truly
And I think people
relaxed,
need to realise that
it
though,
is.
with when they're trying to get it on their own horse, you have to think: is it actually physically able to do
Yeah,
that?
probably. But my horse, it isn't.
Yeah.
He's an ex-racer.
They're fine
He's
to
like,
be ridden,
Yeah.
but you have to realise like that horse will never be able to do
No.
what another horse can do, and that's
not.
fine.
Yeah.
But some people get really, I think they get a bit like
Just to
frustrated.
cut them a bit of slack.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, like.
Yeah.
I can't remember who said it to me the other day. A friend of mine said, because Olive was laughing her head off. She was sat on Alex's shoulders and she was really laughing. She turned around to me and said, "Oh, if you could bottle that noise, no one would ever get depressed again." So you've just said it and reminded me.
Yeah.
Same, but
Video
different. Yeah, I did video it.
And you were like, so cute.
I did video it. That is true. Actually, you can bottle it.
Yeah, you can with that. Yeah.
So I've got a question which you kind of already talked about and you've just said really, but having a baby with your parent, like, you know, so many people are like, oh God, my parents live just about the right amount of
Yeah.
amount of time away from me to have a baby so that I can do it on my own. But so is there anything that you know, are you kind of a bit nervous about having all of that advice from around you?
Yeah, maybe. My dad. Well, no, my dad had no advice because he was.
My
very-
dad did never change the nappy.
He jokes about it, but he's like, I didn't really see you guys. Saw you were like 5, 6. But again, he was very busy with the business stuff, and
Yeah.
that's like how he was keeping the family afloat. So again,
Yeah.
totally get it. But my mum was very much on her own. Yeah, am I worried about the advice? Maybe, but I feel because we've gone through the riding thing where
Yeah,
I
so
know exactly
true.
what's going to happen because she does it with the riding. She'll be like, "Oh, I'd do it that way," and oh my gosh, literally like makes me so annoyed. And then I'll say something to her like, "I'm doing this. What do you think?" And she'll be like, "You just want me to agree with you, don't you? Otherwise, there's going to be a problem." And I was like,
Yeah, pretty much.
"No." And
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
do.
Yeah, I do actually. And it'll be the same with that. I'll go in and be like, what should I do here? Like, I was going to do this. What do you think? And she'll be like, "Oh, well, I'd do it this way." And I'll be like, "Why would you say that?
Well, I'm not doing that.
Why would you tell me to do that way?" And I'll be like really reactive. And then she'll be like, "I don't know why you bother asking." It'll be that. That'll be what will happen. I'll
least
go
you
in.
know.
I've got this problem. This is happening. How do I deal with it?
How did she feel about, you know, when you sort of moved towards the more horsemanship area of things? Like, did she have much to say when you were sort of making that
It
transition?
wasn't
she?
easy.
No.
It wasn't easy. My mum, she, yeah, horses. My mum really struggles with self-doubt. I can see it with her because I've done a lot of the mindset. She really struggles with self-doubt. She's really worried about what other people think of her as well, especially when she was like younger and stuff. So I think it just triggered it because we were at a show and someone very famous said a very mean comment to me after I'd done the Grand Prix because Wilf, he was coming to the end of retirement. And I'd done so much work on getting him soft and relaxed that he didn't have that impulsion that he needs in Grand Prix. It's just where I was at in my training. I was really happy that it was relaxed, but he was relaxed to do like a medium, not
Yeah.
like, you know, they need the balance of relaxed, but also.
I don't know.
Woo! Like,
To
you
be honest,
can't
I don't
be
know how.
massaged.
I don't know
Yeah.
how you do it. I don't know
Yeah.
how anybody does it.
They
like,
need the engagement. Anyway, he didn't have it. And she made this comment, walking across the car park, and I was like, wounded. And then I was like, I'm leaving. I was like, text Tristan, I texted Ben Atkinson going, "Can I come and work with you?" I was like, I need to get out of this scene. I was like, I hate this. And it was all from that one comment. My mum, she kind of just like laughed about it, and she's like, "Oh, you know, she's probably right." And I was just like, she's very stressed about, what people perception of me was. And a lot of people have been like, "Oh, Olivia's giving up, she's not bothered. You've wasted all this money on her. And she doesn't even
really
want to do
mean.
it." Oh yeah, but you know, classic. They always go for the money. They love that one. anyway, so she would stress out about that, and I think she's just worried I was like wasting time or throwing everything away, because she'd always say to me like, you're such a good rider, like if you believed in yourself more you'd do better, or trainers would say to me like, if you pushed a bit more you'd get the marks and you'd win, because like your horses feel amazing, you just need to push more. And I was like, no, because I don't feel I'm pushing in the right way. Like, I'll push when I think I'll push when I think it feels good.
Yeah.
And I think she just panicked about it, and yeah, just felt insecure. So no, there was.
She on board with you now completely.
Yeah, I would say so. And I remember she, because I went down the Liberty thing of like exploring that. She's like, I bloody hate Liberty. If you, bless her. And again, it's just, you know, when someone's, I won't say what she said because it's unfair, because she was reacting. You know, where you're upset. It'd be like when you're parenting, you say something in a reactive moment. She was saying stuff like that, but
it's
now
when your beliefs are
she's
challenged.
panicking. Yeah.
Your beliefs are challenged, and actually, like, that's what she grew up with. That's what she learned, and she's got to unlearn that.
But now she's almost so proud of it.
Oh, that's amazing.
It. She's just like, oh yes, well, you know. And that's really nice. But no, gosh, it wasn't smooth. But I think I learnt from the vlogging, do not air that stuff, because that's between two people. It's very unfair for me to go, my mum's like not supporting me and she's saying this and no, she's hurting and she's scared.
Yeah, and she does not need like everybody commenting saying you need to get a new mum and you need to do this and that. And also when you have that baby, you will realise how you never want anybody to say you're a bad parent. That's the worst thing ever, like, isn't it? You just want to be there for your baby, and your mum's the same as you.
With the competing, you see people and like the mother-daughter or like father-daughter or whatever, you see that as such a close, you know, when you're in a warm-up and they're stressing, you see such a vulnerable side of people.
Yeah.
And like when they're left their test and they're crying their eyes out, screaming at their mum, that's the most vulnerable place you can see someone. And then I think it just gets so judgy.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I used to try so hard just to get to the lorry without crying or screaming. Or like we'd be in the stable trying to untap me, like really angry at each other. And then people would see and they'd be like, oh, like, God, you're just terrible, such a brat. And my mum would be mortified. She'd be like, I failed as a parent. They think that you're a brat. And then I'd be mortified that she's ashamed of me.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it's so hard.
The shame cycle.
The shame cycle, it shows. So now when I see someone kicking off, even if it's doing something to the horse, I'm like, that for me doesn't sit right. I try not to be too, you're a terrible person, because I'm like, you're going through it.
It's the emotional reaction,
hard,
isn't it?
And I know it's hard because there's an animal involved. And the same with parenting. I think if you see a parent screaming at a child, part of you is like, oh, that's terrible. But then I think you have to also be like, they're really struggling too.
Well, I took Olive to the park the other day, and when she got there, there were like all these other kids playing, and she was like, like her little face lit up, and then none of them came and spoke to her, and I've never ever felt such like pain in my life. Yeah, exactly that. And so the rejection and the pain. And so now, like, mum coming and watching me completely screw up every single one-day event I've ever done and all of that, she must be like, oh please, can you just complete it? Because they feed off of you as well. Totally.
I feel like we have had literally
the best chat ever,
the world's best chat.
So do I.
But I feel like we really have seen, like in this chat, the evolution of you like throughout it all. I'm fascinated, and I'm so excited for when you have your baby and you can text us at any time of the day or night and be like, is this a real thing? And we'll be like,
what's going on?
Or I don't know, Olivia. Mine didn't do
new to me.
Yeah, mine didn't do that, but yours might.
slash ask someone more qualified, aka more children.
Go and ask your mum.
And tell her to shut up when she tells me to do something.
We always end the podcast with a question, and
this is not relevant.
It's not relevant for you, so I'm gonna twist it a little bit. We always ask people if you had any advice for expectant equestrian parents, what would it be?
Yes, I have loads.
But you've not had your baby yet. So if anyone out there is listening that has just found out they're pregnant as a horsey mama, is there anything, like, now you're a little bit further along the track and you're close to having a baby, is there any advice you'd pass on for a pregnancy?
I just feel like it's so individual that if I said something, that it might be different for them. I just, maybe if it's correlating with you riding your horse or you like being really involved with your horse, just show yourself a bit of grace. Like on the days you don't feel so good or so sick, like you feel really sick or like just can't be arsed, just show yourself a bit of grace on those days and be like, but I'd say that to people who weren't pregnant anyway.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like,
it's so
having a
true
rubbish
actually.
day, like,
Don't put pressure on yourself.
yeah, it's one day. I think my personality, I'd be like, one day I've ruined it all.
Give
and
yourself
then-
some grace.
Yeah,
Olivia.
if you're listening and you just like never can be asking, maybe you should try. No, it's depending on the character, isn't it? But my character-wise, I had to be like, oh, let's just chill out here. That would be it. And then like enjoying each stage because it just I don't know. I've really enjoyed pregnancy though, so people will probably listen to this and be like, oh,
No.
Don't come for her. Don't come for her.
yeah.
It's really...
Even with like when I was throwing up and stuff, I was just like, this is so nice.
It took me a little while to actually get into it. I didn't enjoy it to begin with, but then after I'd had the baby, I was like, oh, I miss being pregnant.
I think I've always found pregnant women fascinating. Like, you know, when you see them, you're like, how are you growing humans?
I know.
And then when
I still
I'm like,
don't get it.
Look at me go.
So proud of myself.
Yeah,
I know.
literally,
Yeah,
I'm
I know.
like
You should be.
staring at my belly like,
It's not.
I did a thing.
yeah, it's
It is
amazing.
a miracle.
And I think now,
Little
you get so
miracle.
much on social media of people putting quite a negative twist on it that it's quite sad.
Yeah.
So I keep trying to think of it as like it's the most incredible thing, and if that's all you did in those 9 months, like that's amazing.
Yeah, and it is the most incredible thing.
Yeah.
My mum said that when because she'd had a miscarriage before me, she always said that like when she was through basically for 9 months she wouldn't move. Like, she walked around with her arms around her belly, be like, "Don't touch me! Don't touch me! Don't touch me!" Wouldn't get on a horse. Wouldn't go for a run.
This is my baby.
Would barely get up and make a cup of tea for herself.
So funny.
So whatever you do is fine,
Yeah.
or don't do.
Yeah.
Gina's on ice for 9
Yes, yeah, exactly.
That's amazing.
Olivia, thank you so much. I
Thank you.
cannot tell you how grateful and how much I've actually enjoyed coming here and just seeing your amazing place and seeing you and chatting, and I feel like I've learned so much. And I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, that I genuinely have really loved this chat.
You've got some new friends.
You've got
Yeah,
some new
this
pals.
is lovely.
Yeah, you have, and your baby's got
Lovely.
a little pal. If you want to come and meet the psychopath that is my daughter.
So much sort of slapping by that. I'm joking.
I really hope she
I'll
does.
be judging.
Oh,
Amazing. Well, thank you. And listeners, we hope you've enjoyed this one. You can see us on the very next podcast. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode from the Equestrian Mums Club. It's been great to have you along for the ride. We've been your hosts, Katie Allen Clark and Sophie Conway. Make sure to hit the follow button to hear more from us as we dig deeper into the world of ponies and parenthood. And until next time, stay smiling, safe, and stay sane.